Right. Hello. So I just remembered I meant to be taking those down. I guess I'll take them down tomorrow now when I take the rest of the decorations down. Yeah, as of a few minutes' time, the UK might be put under new regulations for coronavirus. So this is going to be a stream mostly just talking about corona and stuff like that. Don't derail it into what is your favourite gas mask sort of questions non-stop. So I hadn't originally planned on doing a stream when Boris was doing his announcement, but as I normally stream about 8 p.m. unless I'm doing it at a different time. Then I said to people I'd be streaming at 8, and then Boris said he'd be doing the announcement at 8. There's that. So basically, yeah, in a few minutes there's meant to be a government press conference, and what I'll try and do is keep refreshing a page on it where I don't have to watch it live, and then see what the key details are. But basically, what the thing is that in the UK, we've had a new sort of variant of it, a new mutation, because the government had done a shit job of doing lockdowns and everything. So the more spread of a virus, the more likely you are to have a mutation. So we've had a mutation of coronavirus that's far more transmissible than everywhere else. That's now spreading around the world. So we're at fault. Or if we didn't, if it didn't start in Britain, it probably started in France, came over here, and then we identified it. There's also a worrying variant in South Africa, which might be even worse. I don't know if it's as transmissible as this variant. It's a lot more dangerous to children from the sound of it, because one of the good things with the sort of original COVID-19 strain is it seemed child mortality wasn't very high with it. But it seems to be with these newer variants that children are far more likely to get it, spread it, and potentially, be damaged by it. I think planes at the moment, that's the only option, because if you don't have a lockdown and what you kill off a quarter of the country if it gets particularly bad or whatever, I think that's it. I think really the only logical step now is lockdown until the vaccines are fully rolled out, or until a majority of people are vaccinated. Because if we have vaccines ready to go, there should be just a compulsory vaccination thing at this moment. So hello to everybody. Don't spam the chat with people, because I want to try and respond to people who are asking legit questions. We've already run out of money. Planes, we're in debt like every other country. It doesn't matter. It's just fiat money. We print it on paper. Unless you have an economy backed by actual gold bullion, it doesn't matter. We're all in make-believe economies anyway. We've already run out of money. It doesn't matter if we run even more out of money. Everyone's run out of money. All right, George, I've not seen you in a while. But yeah, so I'll keep refreshing the thing to see what they say when it comes out, because otherwise I'd have just done a stream afterwards and said what they said. But one of the main things I think is they're probably going to close schools, because obviously if children are transmitting it, keeping schools open is stupid. If you're about regular live streams in the chats, no thanks. If it's the Sun or Sky News, it's generally people coming up with weird conspiracies in the chat. But anyway, I need to work out how to put slow mode on again, because they've changed it, and you can't do these streams without slow mode on. It's just basically impossible. So let me put slow mode on, and then people can write proper comments or not write a comment at all, essentially. And then I can try and respond to people's comments. So let's work out where the slow mode thing has gone again, because they've changed it as always. Or can I even find it? Maybe I can't even do slow mode anymore. If you don't know, slow mode just stops people sort of spamming the chat, because it basically means you have to wait like however long I set it for between comments. But the options disappeared again, because YouTube, of course, doesn't let you keep things in a position where they work. Let me just try the edit title and description one. No, it's not under there. Right, never mind then. We can't have a slow mode, so if anybody spams the chat, I guess I'll just get a timeout or a ban. So Boris is live now, is he? I'll keep refreshing the thing. I've got the BBC one up, so apparently as soon as he says what the restrictions are going to be, it should come up in text format rather than waffling on about something. Well, if you're in proper lockdown, Joshua, you wouldn't get it. If people took lockdown seriously, and the only thing they went out to do was shopping, essentially, or care for an elderly relative or a vulnerable relative, it wouldn't be spreading. The problem is when we have a lot of lockdown restrictions, twats go out and break the rules. So if 80% of people are following the rules, but 20% of people are going out partying, doing whatever else, of course it's still going to spread because it's incredibly virile. So hello everybody that's actually being sensible in the chat. I'm sure the anti-maskers, anti-vaxxers will come on in a bit because they always seem to. I had somebody the other day I had to block saying that the vaccine was actually a way of trying to cull the population and that corona's made up. And you sort of look at a comment like that and you think, Jesus Christ. But yeah, so basically at the moment I'm just waiting to hear what the restrictions will be. I'll keep refreshing the page and I'll let you know. Obviously you could be watching the thing live if people wanted to, but like I said, I didn't originally plan on doing the stream at the time Boris did the thing. He just picked 8 o'clock after I said I'd stream at 8. Yeah, Max Keck, it basically spreads with people just being idiots, I mean, obviously you will get some transmission even if people are being careful, but when you have people who say the rules don't apply to me, it's a hoax, all this, then they're obviously going to be spreading it. All right, although I think part of my face has become paralyzed on the right side. So I'm hoping that will recover, but I don't actually know. And obviously there's no regular doctor's services at the moment due to the corona surge. So I'm just going to have to see if it gets better or not. If not, I'll have slight palsy in the side of my face where it's damaged nerves in that part of, like the face muscles. It's not too bad, but you might be able to see one side of my face is drooping slightly. Hospitals are pretty bad around London area, Gash Goblin. In my area, I don't think they're overfilled yet. But bear in mind, they put us into tier 4 restrictions before things got too bad. They sort of preemptively did it in my area. But it's getting to the stage, I think, in London where they're having to ship people out of London to use hospital spaces in other parts of the country because they're running out of spaces on ICU wards. Yeah, it's going to certainly be very bad, I think, in countries that have no medical infrastructure. I did see the good news is at least Israel's managed to vaccinate 10% of their population. So that's good. I think the UK is at about 1% of the population vaccinated now. The problem is as well, if you didn't know, the UK government's kind of fucked up the vaccinations because I think because they didn't order enough of one of the types of vaccination, they're now rationing the vaccines out more than they were meant to be doing. So people aren't getting their second jabs. They're basically wanting to give more jabs to more people, which is quite dodgy because they didn't buy it under a license. Etsy is fine. It's just like eBay. You generally use PayPal through Etsy. It's not related to the stream, but yes, I've bought stuff through Etsy before. Never had a problem with Etsy. It's essentially just like eBay. You buy something from Etsy. A lot of the same sellers are on both Etsy and eBay. It's probably just a bit cheaper on Etsy with like buyer and seller's fees. Not Adventure of Animals, not with any proponation. It's probably in reserve in some places, but no sort of first or second world country is still using the GP5 properly anymore. Like, again, you'll see it in like reservist training use, and that's it because of how old it is. Yeah, to be honest, Richard, I think they should get a pretty harsh prison sentence for that because I think part of the problem is, right, you've got two sides of this. You've got most people want to do the right thing, and then you've got people that are doing the wrong thing on purpose, but they believe because they won't get caught, they can get away with it. Yeah, the most disgusting one I saw recently was where they had all those sort of anti-mask protesters outside that St. Thomas's Hospital in London where they've got a big corona ICU ward saying like corona's fake while there were people inside dying of coronavirus. The point when you think that some people essentially just need to be shot, I know this is probably changing my political beliefs quite a lot, but yes, this is the problem when you try and be too tolerant of democracy is the idiots fuck everything up. Oh yeah, well, Max Kick, that's why some countries are doing all right, because the countries that are very strict and the people follow the rules, as much as we laugh at them to begin with, the authoritarian countries are doing better now because the punishment of breaking the rules is so severe. Well, the problem is with you saying natural selection is they can spread it to other people. If it was true natural selection, the people themselves would die and nobody else would get it. But because it's a transmissible disease, idiots like that infect everybody else. Steve Wood says, my wife and I think that the mutated strain is where she works. They went from 2 positives with symptoms patient with 350 within a week. Yeah, that's pretty scary. I've got a relative that's got this new strain of it because they work in a school. And although they have like mask procedures, and kids are meant to walk around one way, they were fine, during the first wave of corona. They had a few people go off for testing and came back negative. But then all of a sudden, with this new wave, they had loads of staff and loads of students sick, like all coming down with flu symptoms within about a week of each other. I'm glad you like the Shums Lesser Grims then. It is a lot better, isn't it, than the GP5, just for the fact that, although, yeah, your vision's a bit more tunnel visiony, you can use optics with it fine and people can hear you with it. I imagine so, Dominic, but we'll have to wait to what Boris says. So, I'll read the thing. It says at 20:00 PM begins address on COVID restrictions in England. Prime Minister Boris Johnson is now beginning his televised address where he is expected to announce new national COVID restrictions for England. Prime Minister Boris Johnson begins his address by saying, when the country was fighting the old variant, our collective efforts were working, we would have continued to work, but he says it is both frustrating and alarming to see the speed at which the new variant is spreading. Scientists believe it is between 50% and 70% more transmissible, so people are much more likely to catch the virus and pass it on. Hospitals are much more under pressure. PM announces New England lockdown with people told to stay at home and schools shut for most pupils from tomorrow. So there you go. Schools are closed as well. We're in a new lockdown. The thing is, I was in a tier 4 area anyway, which was like being in lockdown regardless. And I'd been, throughout the whole thing, trying to avoid people as much as possible. But yeah, so everybody's in lockdown now. So, the idiots have ruined it for everybody again. But again, I can understand why they're having to do lockdown. I'll keep refreshing that thing and reading it to you as more stuff comes in. But I'm guessing we might be in lockdown for like 3 months, 4 months. Yeah, well, sorry, I'm going to have no idea how to pronounce your name, mate. NAJC. But I would assume it's because they're selfish people and they're trying to make a point, The majority of people can wear a mask, can stand apart from people, can wash their hands. Unfortunately, if you've got a very transmissible virus, the people who refuse to wear masks, touch everything, get in other people's personal space and say they don't want a vaccine because it's a conspiracy where Bill Gates is going to put a 5G microchip in their arm so the 5G towers can control them to sacrifice children to the blood gods or something. Unfortunately, those people ruin it for everybody. I don't know why you're spamming a link in the chat then, Radiac Maniac. Yeah, so, right, asbestos used to be in masks, adventure animals are in filters because it basically worked as a filter material. It was replaced by fiberglass and then later paper. Basically, we just came up with safer and cheaper alternatives to using it. But asbestos was a very good filter medium. It's just also was very bad if it got into your lungs. Yeah, well, this is the horrible thing, Ash Goblin. I know so many people now who have lost their jobs, and thankfully I haven't lost my job, but, I'm on furlough again. But because the government originally said, they were only going to furlough, was it to October? Lots of people at that point basically lost their job because the companies thought they were going to have to pay the furlough. And then after everybody got laid off, the government goes, oh, wait, no, we will extend furlough. But yeah, idiots are literally the ones costing other people their jobs. And I could definitely see, why some people think there's going to be civil disobedience, violence, rioting over this, if people start blaming other people for costing them their jobs and whatever else. Class 2 instructor says, I seriously hope part of the problem is the US in some sort of foreign propaganda campaign to ruin the US economy. If it's just Americans on their own, we are screwed next door in Canada. So you're saying the problems in the US of people mass spreading it? Well, yeah, you'd hope it's over-exaggerated, wouldn't you? But the way Trump's been acting recently, and I originally liked Trump quite a lot, but the way he's been acting recently has been quite worrying, I don't know if they class it as COVID-20 because I suppose it is technically a new variant, isn't it? They have given it a name, but I can't remember what the B whatever name it is. But we're calling it the Kent strain in England because that's where we first discovered it, in Kent, which is a county. Yeah, Richard. The good news is they think the vaccines will work on it. They think the vaccines will protect you from the new strain. Would protect you like the old strains, right? The danger with these new strains is that they spread much faster, so that overwhelms hospitals and emergency services far more, as in it will spread in a room easier, there'll be more pressure on hospitals and ventilators and whatever else, and they think, but they're not sure, it could potentially be more dangerous to children. They can certainly catch it and spread it more easily than the older strain, but there's more evidence then if they catch it and spread it more easily, they're more likely to die from it. I'm going to block the guy who keeps spamming what am I talking about on this live stream, where you can blatantly tell from the title and the description. Right, we must go into a national lockdown PM. I'll read this bit out in its entirety. The Prime Minister adds that given the alarming figures, it had become clear that we need to do more to bring the new fast-spreading coronavirus variant under control and help the vaccination roll out in the UK. He says we must therefore go into a national lockdown. Shouldn't it be he said? We must, never mind, I'm not going to worry about the grammar on there. With the government once more telling people to stay at home except for specific reasons, including essential shopping, to work if you cannot work from home, to exercise, to seek medical help, and to escape domestic abuse. He says the government will be advertising clinically extremely poor people to begin, advising clinically extremely, that should be ill people, shouldn't it? But they've typed that out wrong again. To begin shielding again, so basically vulnerable people need to shield again. Primary and secondary schools must move to remote learning from tomorrow, except for vulnerable children, and those are key workers. Well, that makes sense because there are some people you literally need to keep in school to keep other bits running. Given this, it is not fair for all exams to go ahead this summer. He says, I assume they're cancelling the summer exams. So, yeah, the UK then is obviously going into another lockdown similar to what we had in March. And interestingly, there's 750,000 people viewing this live page at the moment on the BBC. If you're wondering which one I'm looking at this. Yeah, like we said, it might not have started in the UK, but it was detected here first because of genetic modelling or sequencing, whatever they call it. So who knows if it did start here or not, but we discovered it and then everybody blamed us for it. Yep, Steve, but most people have been under lockdown anyway, just under a different name, because Tier 4 restrictions essentially were lockdown, because you couldn't go to sports games, you couldn't go to restaurants to eat, you had to get takeaways, the only reason you're allowed out was pretty much to exercise, go to the doctors, or go shopping, which is what they're saying under the current stuff. Well, we'll probably already have hyperinflation, and it doesn't matter. The thing is, at the moment, if every country is economically crashing due to corona, it doesn't really matter. In that sense, it's only really bad for one economy if they do all the restrictions and nobody else does. You should be able to get a refund for that fine got Nick Studios. I've very rarely had problems with customs. When I've had stuff stopped by customs when I sent it to other people, they've just sent it back to me after like a month of it sat somewhere doing nothing. Oh, Fancy Fox, you might have more restrictions coming to Australia. Who knows? But yeah, so the thing is with the lockdowns, Cameron, is you'd ideally hope we wouldn't need them. But the problem is, because so many people don't follow the rules, it seems until you put strict rules on them, that's at the point they'll follow the rules. Because during the first lockdown, everybody was pretty good. And then annoyingly, as the lockdowns were lifted and we were given more, like freedoms, to be sensible with, people immediately said, wow, I'm not strictly being told to do something, so I won't do something. Yeah, at the moment, Dominic, I've given loads more masks out now to like family and friends just because I've said to them, look, if there's a more infectious version spreading, I want you to have a mask and I want you to wear it more often. Part-time profit, it seems like everywhere in England is getting a Tier 4 restriction, if not a bit stricter than Tier 4. So if you're in a Tier 4 area, I don't think you're going to see much difference, but I think the point is now everywhere's locked down, you're not meant to be moving around the country. Because Antburger, if young, healthy people get corona, they can still have lifelong illnesses from it. There's a thing called long COVID, if you don't know about this, where quite a few percentage of people that seem to get COVID and recover have like extreme fatigue, like, lots of other problems. Yes, a gas mask will stop COVID. Adventure of animals. That's why you see people on the critical care wards wearing like essentially NBC gear. So yes, P100/P3 filters are what you want against corona. So a half face mask with proper filters. Yeah, Marcus, new lockdown. They've not said it's probably going to be until vaccinations overcome the rate of infections. Oh, did they actually give a date, Marcus? Mid-February? Because yeah, it didn't say on the bit I've looked at. Right, so I read the national lockdown bit on the BBC page. It says schools may act as vectors for transmission. We all knew that. Okay, so let's read the top bit. UK must move to COVID alert level 5, but vaccine rollout gives hope. The PM repeats the advice of the UK's chief medical officers that the nation's COVID alert level, the nation's COVID alert level should move to level 5, meaning that if action is not taken, NHS capacity may be overwhelmed within 21 days. That's pretty stark, isn't it? So essentially within 3 weeks, the entire sort of health system might collapse, which I can believe if you see how fast some of the hospitals are getting cases now. And we've not seen the Christmas surge yet, have we? Sorry, that's me just going off the side. Yeah, so there is one huge difference compared to last time, saying the UK is rolling out the biggest vaccination program in its history and has so far vaccinated more people than the rest of Europe combined. That's kind of one of the weird things, is how little. If you've seen France had only vaccinated like 300 odd people as of like 2 days ago. He says the pace of vaccination is accelerating thanks to the arrival of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, which patients begin receiving earlier today. And that's great news of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, because it's a very cheap one that can be stored at like room temperature or just below room temperature. Doesn't need to be like -7 like the Pfizer jab. So I'll just read the health correspondence bit to this. It says, once again, it is the threat to the NHS that has forced the hand of ministers. In England, there has been a 50% rise in the number of patients in hospital with COVID since Christmas Day. To put that in context, it equates to 18 hospitals being filled. Currently, around 3 out of 10 beds are occupied by patients with the disease. In some hospitals, there is more than 6 in 10. But what is worrying ministers and NHS leaders is that the number is just going to increase. In the spring, it took nearly 3 weeks after lockdown for hospital cases to peak. The last 6 days have seen an in excess of 50,000 new infections confirmed each day across the UK. A number of these infections are next week's hospital admissions. It is why the UK's chief medical officers were warning there was a material risk of some hospitals being overwhelmed if something did not change. So basically, for those of you that haven't been following it in the UK, it was bad before Christmas. People obviously mixed at Christmas, and the government did the stupid thing of going, oh, people can do what they want over Christmas, and then sort of restricted it a bit. So obviously people for Christmas and New Year were partying and doing stupid shit. And then we've got, combined out of a more virulent or more infectious version of the virus, it's going to shit. Because if they don't go to hospital, they die, Mr. Nub, if they're in health problems. Gottnick, I'd say the IMD5 is better than the DP5V, if you can get them for similar prices. Shall I link you to the guy I bought a DP5 from? Oh, that person's just spamming the chat like a retard. I'll block them. Let me link to the seller I bought. He's on about a Geiger counter, Marcus. All right, bots. So, yeah, if you're not aware, we're going into another national lockdown in the UK because idiots over Christmas combined with a more virulent version of coronavirus has completely fucked us. As I said, Gopnik Studio, wait for me to tell you which the seller was I got my DP5V from. Or actually, I'm not sure if this is the same seller I got my DP5V from. Yeah, Any Devices, I think was the one. Yeah. So yeah, on eBay, Any Devices sells them, I think, as either the complete kit or like without the box if you want it for cheaper postage. Because bear in mind, the postage on the one with like the suitcase kind of thing sometimes is like $80 or something. Right, yeah, the good news, bots, is apparently the vaccines currently that work against the first gen of corona work against this one. But the bad thing is, yeah, that this one's spreading way faster. So we've combined a hospital, kind of shortage with a faster spreading virus. Yeah, at the moment, Dominic, with what S10s cost, I wouldn't recommend buying them for the price they cost over something else. Something I did get bots that you're familiar with. But for some reason, another UK seller had a really good condition CDV 715 in that works completely properly. So I ended up getting another CDV 715 because why not? It was only like £30 and they're pretty rare to find over here. Yeah, I'll definitely take the vaccine when it's offered to me, but bear in mind I'd be low priority on the vaccine list because the idea is it goes to the severely elderly and vulnerable people first. What country are you in, Joe Green? Because it depends where you are, because often countries have Pascut variants that just aren't called Pascuts. Yeah, they're doing stuff like that just in vain because I think sensible people find it really hard to follow the rules if you're literally trapped in one house for like months at a time. Good, Dan. I'm at 13 grand now, so I said each month I'm adding about 500 to £1,000 to it. So the idea is that hopefully by the end of this year, if one pops up for a good enough price, I can afford it. I don't think it said anything about the postal service, at least not on the BBC thing. Bear in mind, I've not been watching Boris live because I've been doing the stream. The ARFA is fine if you've got one that's not like going into hard plastic mode. All right, Ray, how are things in your area? Has the Republic been doing a better job in Northern Ireland? I imagine so, but I know it's not really been good anywhere, has it? Sort of around the British Isles and lots of sort of Western Europe. Well, is that the Sputnik vaccine, Victor? Apparently, it's quite good from what I've heard. It might not be as good as the Oxford AstraZeneca one, but apparently it's quite good for a vaccine they got made initially. But, I don't really want to get into the politics of the vaccines. I hope as many vaccines work as possible and as many people's lives are saved, Because like I was saying before, we all know the bullshit about the MMR vaccine, hence why I got mumps, because even though I was vaccinated, lots of other people didn't get vaccinated, and then you still have a chance of catching it. If you mean The Godfather as in the Francis Ford Coppola movie, whatever his name is, I've got that on DVD. The original of The Godfather with Marlon Brando. I've got all The Godfathers on DVD. Don't need to watch it on the BBC. It definitely would have been iced tea because it definitely was spreading before China admitted it was spreading. Yeah, if somebody says The Godfather, I assume they mean The Godfather, I'm making an offer you can't refuse. That one. If need be, literally, if you've got a mask that works and you've got a safe filter for it, just use that. You don't need at the moment to waste lots of money on a brand new mask, especially if you're not buying a brand new mask, because an S10's like, unless you get lucky, you're not going to get one from like post 2000. You're probably going to get one from the 80s or the 90s. The thing is, I don't particularly trust any government. Our government in the UK has cocked this up a lot. I don't think they've cocked a lot of it up maliciously. I just think they've been fucking incompetent. I've not even seen what are Myra's new masks then, Marcus. Whose mask are they literally just copying or building under license to then upsell? Because bear in mind, Myra's old masks are just Czech military masks, and Myra's Geiger counters are just SOEX Geiger counters. Yeah. I gave away my oldest S10, Nick, to one of my supporters on here. But I've got my current S10, which I think was a 2009 built one. It was a really late built S10 for it. It was either like 2007 to 2009. I can't remember the exact year without looking at it. If I've got it up there, I could check, but I'm pretty sure it was like a 2009 one. Yeah, well, a thing we should have done, Justin Vapor, is stop flights coming in, but no, that would hurt our travel economy. Why there's no shops you can go to. You've got to allow people to keep flying into the country from all over the world. Oh no, that spreads a virus. Who'd have thought? There was a reason Australia and New Zealand stopped foreign flights coming in for like months, wasn't there? To help control a virus. Is it a mask actually made by them bots, or is it one that they're just doing under license, or what? I'll have to look at it properly because I've not actually looked yet. I don't think there is a size 4, is there, Daniel? I thought it goes size 1 to 3. Size 1 is the largest, size 3 is the smallest, whereas the S10 had size 1, 2, 3, 4. And I think that was just because the smallest size S10 was so small, essentially, they didn't need to make one that small. As in US military ones, Joe? No. I've got some ski goggles if I want to seal my eyes off. Alright, I'm getting fed up of the person spamming politics on this. I know Corona's a bit political, but when it literally becomes I hate immigrants, North FC, you know, bye. Yeah, I'll have to look into it properly, bots, because I've not really been doing much recently other than playing video games and, you know, sleeping a lot due to you know, waiting for the puffiness in my face to go down and trying to get that part of my face working again. Wow, Captain, they used to be £30 or something if you were lucky. They're now £60 to £100, probably more with a lot of sellers. And again, the problem is a pandemic does a lot to push up gas mask prices. What, the Bob Simple tank? That's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm not. I'm just getting rid of anybody spamming weird shit in the comments, because again, the problem is with these streams is you get lots of very strange people come on. Lots of them probably bots, aren't they? But not as in bots who's in the comment, but you know, a bot of some sort of ideology to just spam the shit out of the comments. But yeah, the problem was even when my mumps has gone, I've still got like some pain and like slight nerve damage to the right side of my jaw. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, Setme's and G3s are really cool rifles. I mean, I personally prefer the FAL, but if you could give me either one of them, I'd say yes, please. But yeah, there's something very cool about the old Setme designs. I really like the Setme Model L, but obviously you never see them over here anymore. At one point, you could get a Setme Model L, I think, over here as a DIAC for like £300. I kind of kick myself now for not buying it, because I just aesthetically love it. Yeah, I finished it down and it no longer leaks, which is good because it's horrible cold weather now. So, you know, it's done. I don't need to go up there anymore. I think everybody at the moment, Gottnick, says your government's better than my government. At the moment, I think people should just work together to, you know, not infect each other and just let the governments do the shit jobs they all do. Because, you know, a political pissing match between governments generally doesn't end very well for the regular people. I've mostly recovered, Victor. I'm still very tired most of the time. And as I was saying, there's something not quite right with the muscle on that side of my mouth now. So part of my face there seems to be slouching to one side slightly. So that's happened. But most of the swelling's gone at least. But yeah, mumps again is one of those things. The reason it's vaccinated against is because of all the long list of things it can do to you, even if you recover from it. You know, hence why, you know, like measles and rubella we vaccinate against, you know, and polio has been like 98% eradicated because of vaccinations. You know, I did see some anti-vax mom on some video saying like her kids would be stronger if they naturally got polio and recovered from it. It's like, no, they wouldn't. Oh, Adobe's put a pop-up on my screen. Adobe, why are you doing this to me? I'm going to have to find out where does this Adobe process come from. Let's see. It's telling me my version of Photoshop isn't genuine. What? How would I have known that? Adobe GCC client. Let's delete this program. How dare they fucking interrupt my stream. Oh, whoops, I accidentally deleted the Adobe Genuine Product Checker from my hard drive. Oops, that was a shame. Anyway, back to the stream. What's Boris said? Yeah, sadly, Flash isn't really a thing anymore, is it? Adobe just sells Photoshop for way too much money. The Prime Minister says by the middle of February, and the page has had a new thing pop up when I was trying to read, if things go well, the government expects to have offered the first vaccination dose to everyone in the 4 top priority groups. The problem is, I don't know if they're reliable enough to do that. Yeah, I'm sure there is, Marcus, if you mean Adobe. But yeah, one of them is just don't let Adobe stuff through your firewall. That's a good way of fixing it. But the problem is, because I've upgraded my firewall recently, I think it let it through. Yeah, like I said, I'm not going to let the stream turn into like political weird shit. So, you know, I'm not answering weird political questions, all the regular spam questions, because if you watch my videos, you'd already know the answers. But yeah, like saying, so if they're saying in the UK we're going to come out of lockdown by the middle of February, that's about 45 days time roughly, let's say. In 45 days, I really doubt they're going to have managed to have vaccinated enough people compared to the rate of spread. Bear in mind, the first lockdown, it took us like 3 or 4 months of something not even as transmissible as this one. I can answer that for you, Ice-T. The worst gas mask I've ever encountered is probably the Chinese Pewter full face gas mask. I've shown it before in videos, but basically, one, the straps have a really bad design, so if you tighten the straps, sometimes they randomly ping off the mask because they're basically held on by friction. They don't have like a proper strap system. So you've got straps that, you know, are likely to come off when you need the mask to be on your face, you know, therefore you die if you're in an environment where you need a respirator to properly protect you. The other thing is the mask's made from such soft rubber, it might be a bit comfortable, but the weight of the filter actually causes the mask to bend in on itself and then break its own seal. Well, the XM28, Joe, I have, but the strap got damaged on it because of the old rubber. One day I was putting it on and tightening it on the stream, and then the strap just fucking went on it. I've done a video on the GM30. I've probably done a couple of videos on the GM30. You can watch them. Just search my channel if you're interested in the mask, and then if there's videos on it, I've done videos on it. Yeah, mine's a BMW made GM30, interestingly. I doubt the rubber was made by BMW, but the metal parts have BMW stamped on them. Yeah, Wolf said, you think if we were going to get wiped out by a virus, it'd be a cooler virus, wouldn't you? Like a zombie or some sort of mutant virus, rather than cough, 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 I can't breathe. No, Sing, I can't. I can't blame 5G because it has nothing to do with it. But I think the current conspiracy is that Bill Gates has a 5G microchip injected into you in the vaccine, which is invisible. And then when you're vaccinated, he controls you like a 5G puppet somehow. They actually had somebody phone in and ask a scientist about that when he was answering technical medical questions on the radio. And he's like, there's literally no way you can get a 5G microchip to go into a serum. I've been to some in France, bots, but that's all I've been to. Yeah, so if somebody was asking about paintball guns, in some countries you can legally get those like pepper spray paintball ball things, can't you? Over here you can buy paintball guns, but you can't buy the pepper spray stuff for them. So basically you could shoot somebody with a paintball gun that would bruise them, but that'd be about it. Well, that's pretty cool. You still found a relic there, Mr. MS Paint. I'm getting rid of the guy who clearly has not watched my videos or has watched my videos and then is spamming questions. Because I notice when somebody spams a certain amount of questions, which is subjects I frequently answer, that they basically are doing it on purpose. Yeah, I didn't go with my school because the school did trips like that. But when the school did trips like that, they wanted close to $1,000 for you to go somewhere for like 2 or 3 days. They were total rip-off prices. So I just did a lot of those stuff, like later on as an adult when you could do it cheaper. Yeah, I mean, it's sort of silly, isn't it, Ghost Jesus? This is as political I'll probably get on the stream, where you can have certain high density areas which can offset elections, because of seats and things. That's why you need reform. Yeah, no, it makes sense, Mike, if you want to see him tonight. Yeah, I was F5ing the stuff as we went along to see what we were going into. So full lockdown until middle of February, but it'll probably drag on longer. So I assume that's the case for everybody, is it? It doesn't surprise me. Got mixed studio. A lot of EU politicians were people that were in the old communist regimes in Eastern Europe. Anomaly is a good mod. Stalker 2 should come out this year if it's released on time. Hopefully Stalker 2 will be good. I won't hold my breath for it. Right, what I'm going to say to you, Victor Camera, is if you are interested in protecting yourself, keep it to yourself, because if you write anything about it online and then you get caught for something, that will be used as evidence against you. So if you are honestly interested in protecting yourself, read up what you can and can't do in the grey areas of the law and make your own decision without telling other people. Because if I did a video, for example, saying I would use this sword to defend myself against a burglar, and then a burglar broke into my house and I stabbed him with that sword, it would be premeditated as murder, because I'd literally said I was going to do it online. So therefore, I don't say what I would use. I reckon it will, Ghost Jesus, because there's enough footage released from it now that it looks like they've done something with it. But yeah, the point is, Stalker 2, because we're going very off topic of Corona now, but because Stalker 2 is not made by that many of the developers of the original Stalker, if you look into it, personally, I reckon it's not going to be too much like a Stalker game, if that makes sense. I reckon it will have a lot of the aspects of Stalker, but I don't reckon it will be as good for that reason. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it turns out to be like the best Stalker ever. But personally, I think what's going to happen is Stalker 2 is going to be like Stalker Light, because I reckon because it's not got, a lot of the same people working on it. I reckon it's just, for that reason. Does that make sense? It makes sense to me. But oh, I found a way of putting slow mode back on, so I'll do it for 20 seconds. This option wasn't on there earlier, but slow mode option has just reappeared. So thank you, YouTube. When I say thank you, I don't really mean thank you, YouTube. It depends really. I mean, they use a variant of the SBM20. It isn't the standard SBM20, but the Terra P does use an SBM20 based tube. It's the same one that's in the SOX, I believe. It's the same tube. All right, fair enough, bots. There's a video I want to get filmed tomorrow to put on tomorrow evening, and that's a detailed look at the Polish DO8 ionization chamber, like I did with the DP2 the other day. But I ended up just doing a Corona video the other day because I wasn't feeling great, and I just wanted to get a video out, and not one I had to edit for ages. And a lot more people at the moment are interested in coronavirus than, giant Cold War brick-sized ionization chambers. But yeah, it's a cool box. I've modified mine, which might be a bit, heretical, but apparently they're dirt cheap and very common in Poland. So because the bottom of mine, where it has like the thinner beta flap, thing where it's riveted on, was a bit rusty, I thought, right, I'll use pliers and totally remove that bit from the case. So that's what I did. I then carefully with a screwdriver, so this bit was a bit, I can always repair. I removed the bottom of the ionization chamber, and now I have it as a sensitive open to the air ionization chamber. So it can now measure, I think, 50 millirontgen to 300 rontgen, and you can measure like alpha sources with it because it's open to the air. I've not been planning on it, Gottmik. I'd only really sell a lot of them to friends, in all honesty, because a lot of my friends have asked now and again, can they buy Geiger counters off of me? And I was like, well, maybe at some point, but unless people are offering me enough money for it and they're close enough, there's no point. Yeah, it's going to be pretty bleak for the next. Yeah, well, it makes sense, doesn't it, Morgan? Lots of stuff like your own country's surplus is dirt cheap in your own country. That makes a lot of sense. But yeah, it's just Polish DO8s are ones that you don't even see very commonly. Like Polish DP66s and DP75s, and even those you see more commonly on like UK eBay. But the old DO8s you don't see very often, which is kind of weird because apparently they're really, really mass produced. Yeah, did you see seeing all that horrible stuff happening over Christmas? The one that really pissed me off, because there was a couple of things. There was like the people vandalizing a church and having a rave in a church, spreading corona and vandalizing a listed building. But the one that really pissed me off was, the people protesting with no masks on, all packed in like sardines outside a fucking, corona like terminal ward, like one of those emergency, what's the word? The wards, where people are essentially on ventilators, where they may or may not make it. It's, I've not tried it with a DP2 yet, Radiac Maniac. Ask me that on a members stream and I might be able to demonstrate it. I will have a look for you in a moment, Simpfrost, because that sounds something interesting to me. Yeah, the fact that there were people outside like one of those emergency, like wards protesting that corona was fake, or people inside were dying, and like doctors were doing like 16-hour shifts or whatever. But let me look up Soviet DP24 for you. Right, let's see one that comes up. Is that a dosimeter charger kit by the look of it? Because the one coming up on images looks to me to be basically a DKP 50 style thing with a charger unit. Yeah, I believe that's what it is. So basically, it's like a unit that comes with a load of these and the charger unit for it. Yeah, so Simpfrost, it's basically a unit that just charges pens. It's not very exciting, They're good, handy units. I love dosimeter chargers. I've got one behind me somewhere I use quite a lot for my RAF ones, like the British, the American. It's like that's, US CDV one in the background. What they do is they just charge dosimeter pens, so you can use them to charge them, reset them to 0, and then you can use the pen. But they're not very exciting, they don't actively tell you what radiation is. It's basically a charging unit for radiation detecting pens. Yeah, intensive care unit, thank you. Shazza or Shazar, that's what I was meant to be going on about. Yeah, Richard said, same reason I don't have any good expectations for current Sonic games. Most of the original developers went to Nintendo or Square Enix, and the current developers turned Sonic into a self-aware joke. I assume that's in relation to Stalker 2, is it, Richard? Rather than coronavirus, but yeah. Yeah, I feel really sorry for some of the like emergency workers and people, or even people in supermarkets. Like the amount of people in supermarkets who are having people like cough and spit at them, or being told like, "I hope your kids fucking die" and stuff, because they ask somebody to wear a mask, who's like just walking around a supermarket. It's like, Jesus Christ. Well, Jesus wept, I guess would be more. Max, if you're in the UK, wait till you see what happens with the laws regarding the stuff now we've come out the EU, because our laws might be getting looser on them. And if our laws get looser, it might be that soon you can get stuff that's less deactivated, if that makes sense. So like less WOWs on it, less missing parts for less money. So I'd say wait and see what happens. But a lot of the stricter stuff recently has been the EU restrictions, not UK ones, because the UK is adding even more calibers to the obsolete weapons list, which is nice. Where before, they took about 5 to 10 calibers off of it, but they added like 40 new calibers to the list of like things you're allowed to own, because technically they're not guns anymore because they're so old. And I have a feeling the Kakano rounds are now on there. the French World War One rifle rounds, like the one the mass use or whatever it's called. I can't remember the name of the rifle now. And I think even the old G98 and K98 cartridge, like the German, was it 7.62 by 55 millimeter? I can't remember the exact, or 57 millimeter. But there's a load of those that have been added, like proper old-fashioned bolt rifle cartridges, which is really cool having them on the obsolete list, so you can own the guns not deactivated. I was thinking more of Hellraiser Class 2 instructor when I said Jesus wept. I know it's the shortest bit in the Bible, Jesus wept. But I generally think of Hellraiser when I think of Jesus wept. I've got a relative with it at the moment, ow, who's ill, but not seriously ill. He's like at home with flu symptoms. Oh, I did not know that, Mike. That's a shame. But yeah, I didn't know he started Worldwide Arms. Yeah, that's interesting. A bit sad, isn't it? I hope he was a decent age in that. There's been so many people, hasn't there, like recently that have died due to corona or just old age. But the Italian Murray, I think Italian 6.5 millimeter, the Carcano round, I'm pretty sure that's going onto the obsolete caliber list. So you could get World War II Carcanos and that legally. You know, I know with the list, you're not technically meant to have the ammo for them, are you? You're not meant to load the ammo into the gun. It's something like that. But the fact is, you could buy a fully working Carcano, as far as I'm aware, when the new things get added to the list, which would be pretty cool. You know, I think a lot of like World War One, World War Two bolt actions are cool. It's just a shame the Lee Enfields aren't going on that list. But I suppose that's because they think 303 is common enough here that, you know, if they added Lee Enfields to the list, people would be able to shoot them quite easily. Yeah, I'll open that link, Mike, but I'll read it properly later. Yeah, let me go back to that BBC article and see if anything else has been added. Okay, so I'll read their little reality check thing. Are restrictions more severe than March? We know that the UK is going to threat level 5, the highest level, which means there is a danger of the NHS being overwhelmed within 21 days. When the Prime Minister announced these threat levels in May, he has clear, I assume it means back in May last year, he was clear that during the first lockdown, the country had only been in level 4. Was he clear on that? I don't know if he was. At the time, he also said that the higher the level, the tougher the restrictor you will have to be. So on that basis, we have expected tighter restrictions in England than we saw during the first lockdown in March. If anything, restrictions appear slightly less severe. For example, support bubbles and childcare bubbles exist this time. Also, outdoor playgrounds will be open when they were closed last time. Communal worship is still as allowed as long as social distancing is observed. I find that a bit strange that you could still go into like a mosque, a church, or a synagogue or whatever, as long as you're a bit further apart from people. I mean, I can understand like spirituality is important for people like at a time like this, but at the same time, you know, I think God would rather you be safe and not going to a place of worship personally. One significant change since March is that face coverings are compulsory in indoor public settings such as shops, public transport, places of worship. Yeah, that's an important thing, and I think really there should be minimum restrictions on the type of face coverings, so people can't put a mesh over their face and go, I'm wearing a mask. Well, that's a good cartridge, isn't it? Class 2 instructor, because 303, you know, it's a fairly powerful thing for, you know, back before 7.62 NATO. I know obviously 30-06 was more powerful, but, you know, it was a fairly powerful cartridge for shooting stuff, so... Yeah, Max, I think that's the reason. I think the only reason, like most other World War One and World War Two era rifles, except the 303 ones, are gone on the list, is probably just because they know there's probably a lot of 303 ammo lying around in the UK. So I think the logic is if they made the guns easier to get, then people might actually have ammunition quite easily to shoot from them, or reloading like benches for them. I don't know, but. I don't normally see US BDUs for sale here. We sometimes get US surplus for sale over here, but it's not that common. Normally we get all the stuff from Europe. Or, you know, old British Army stuff. What is my favourite gun? What, modern ones? Or during the Cold War, the FAL, you know, the right arm of the free world. Out of modern firearms, I'd actually have to have another good look at the lists, but, you know, probably something that's like a really good AR platform style gun. what I quite like are the guns that are, you know, kind of like the weird hybrids of ARs and AKs, where they kind of put a simpler gas system in or whatever, like an AK, but the tolerances are a lot more refined. Like the Finnish and the Israelis did really good AKs, didn't they? But apparently it's I think Forgotten Weapon said the modern Russian AKs are meant to be really bloody good in terms of how well machined they are and everything. Pearl of the Orient says, evening, looking at potentially getting a CBRN mask, well aware of how good Avon is, but I'm sure you're all too well they don't sell to us lay people, or you can buy the surplus, but it's expensive. What sort of budget have you got, and what country are you in, Pearl of the Orient? And then I can try and hopefully get you an answer. The problem is with Corona, obviously, lots of the prices have gone silly. So if I recommend a mask, a few days later, there might not be anywhere that's got it left anymore. Cool. So you've got a load of masks coming for quite cheap, Gumball. That's cool. Cool. Must be a cool Diak to have a Diak Galil, Murray. But yeah, they're cool. They're lovely guns, aren't they? I mean, it had to be good enough that it replaced the FAL in Israeli service, you know. And I know they're now replacing it. Are they with the Tavor or whatever it's called? But yeah, the obviously Israel used the FAL for quite a while. Oh, so you're in the UK, despite the sort of HK Hong Kong coat of arms. Right, if you've got up to 500 quid, you can probably spoil yourself. There's a couple of masks I personally really like that CBRN rated aren't as good as the Avon things, but in terms of you can get them in very good condition for not silly money, I would probably recommend things like the Spaziani TR2002 or like the Climax masks. So let me go on eBay and see if any pop up for you. But again, I haven't looked up masks for ages on eBay just because of how silly the prices are recently, and the fact I'm trying to save. But let's see, is there any Spazianis for sale? If it's a make or break thing that has to be like butyl rubber for you know, like CBRN use, then I'd have to rethink for you. Because yeah, I mean, there's certainly a lot of masks popping up that I would avoid like the plague. This is, I'm going to link you to a mask that's very good for the price it costs at the moment. Let me link you to this. If you have a look at this Pearl of the Orient, this is a good mask, or very good for the price. The Furnez. This is basically, I think this is a 5-strap one rather than a 6-strap one, but essentially this is kind of like a fairly thick rubberized mask, similar to what a fireman would have, but obviously for use of 40mm filters. Didn't the L1A1 have the bottle opener built in as well because of British squaddies breaking the charging handles, opening bottles on it? But yeah, I know a lot of countries did that, didn't they? They said, well, if the soldiers are going to try and keep doing this with it anyway, we might as well incorporate it into the design. No, sadly, I can't really recommend anywhere to buy PPM 88s. Occasionally, they turn up for good prices on eBay, but not all that often. Yeah, like I said, at the moment, you're going to be a bit limited for choice. Before Corona, if you said you had £500, you could have basically bought any mask you wanted. Now with Corona on, lots of people have bought out all the top-end stuff, you know, and lots of the low-end stuff has gone up. Oh, Adventures of AJ, nice to see you on again. Did I summon you by saying the word Spaziani? I could do at one point Gopnik Studio, but sadly, I don't have any Czech or any Yugoslavian ones. I know Yugoslavia wasn't really in the Warsaw Pact, but Yugo Geigers are meant to be really good. I'd actually include all dosimeters in that, you know, like ionization chambers as well, because that way I could do the Polish DO8. The Polish DP66 Bart has, because he was very slowly repairing it. So I might be able to borrow that back to do a video on, because I said to him, if I need to borrow it back, can I? And he said, yes, because you gave it me for free, you know. But the DP75 I've got, and the DP75 is lovely, even if it's a bit fragile. Obviously, I've got a couple of DP5s and IMD5. But yeah, I don't have any of the Czechoslovakian ones. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, another good one, Synthfrost, at one point was when all those Scott M95s or M110s, whatever they were called. Too late to retract. You all right anyway, Aja? I haven't seen you on in a while. But yeah, the Scott masks are really good, actually. It's just over here, they very rarely turn up for sale. They're the masks Finland's had in military service for ages. And I can see why. They're bloody good. They're kind of, like nicer rubber than the S10, but I'd say they're kind of like an S10 but better. What do you mean by a French fake mask? Well, if it's a completely fake, not working mask, then no, it's worthless. If you mean like a French ARFA or something like that, if you get one in all right condition, it's worth that price. But if you get one where it's all dried up and turned into hard plastic, it's probably a bit useless. Yeah, no, can't go out with your friends anymore. That's verboten. We're in tier 5 now. I've been in tier 4 for a bit now, so I'm used to the only time I see friends is if we go out walking a dog and we're like stood that far away from each other because that's allowed under the guidelines. The most exercise I'll probably be getting soon is when the new night vision that Hype sold me turns up. Doing some outdoor videos with some Gen 2 Plus night vision, because that'll be good, going out for walks in like nearly pitch black conditions with Gen 2 Plus. Yeah, Max, now I've seen it that some of the DIAT ones are more expensive. But yeah, D&B Militaria for ages, I don't know if you got yours at the same time, had them for £450, didn't they? The Schmidt Rubins, and that's when I got mine. So I've got an obsolete one with all the parts still working, like no welds to it, fully functional firearm. But because it's an obsolete caliber in, like the lower pressure form of the thing, that's the reason like the K31's on the obsolete caliber list, is that the Schmidt Rubin technically used a lower pressure version of the 7.5 by 55 millimeter. Whereas the like the later Swiss rounds, although you can load them into a Schmidt Rubin, apparently it's like likely to damage the gun if you shoot it continuously with those. What about a Pendosimeter, Gumball? What was that? Sorry about it, 65? Oh, you're saying Yugoslavia and the Czech Republic both use it, or the Czechoslovakia both use the same one? But I didn't know that. I thought they looked pretty similar. But doesn't one of them actually have an alpha probe at the end of like the probe housing, which is really cool? Like it has, a probe that's obviously like beta and gamma sensitive from the sides, but the tip of it is alpha sensitive. You can't get an S10 cheap anymore. Why are you still spamming it? Blue one goes to 5 Rontgen. That's a pretty low range if it goes to 5 Rontgen on the old ones. Because generally they used to have like the milli Rontgen range ones, and then the ones that went up to like 300 to 500 odd Rontgen. But yeah, the coolest ones I've got at the moment, the ones Max sent me, which are the ones that like that US CDV one that goes to 100 milli Rontgen or whatever it is, or 200 milli Rontgen, so you can actually see the needle move in real time if you put it next to an active source, because milli Rontgens aren't all that high. I see. So yeah, you've got the old ROC type one, haven't you? Yeah, where you winch it up essentially. Yeah, Soviets did one like that later on. It's the one the ID1 uses. Personally, though, if you're charging dosimeters at home, just get a D-cell battery one, just because the amount of energy it uses out of a D-cell for a dosimeter charger is tiny. And having a proper bulb come on behind the thing and just being able to do a little needle is far better than like trying to wind the charger and get it accurate. But yeah, don't get me wrong, the ones where you essentially use static electricity to charge dosimeter pens are a really cool idea, especially for after the bombs have dropped. But for the most part, ones like that are a lot more practical, where you just have a battery inside it, you push the pen in, look into it as you turn the thing. I won't be on for too much longer, Mike, because I've been on for over an hour now, haven't I? And I want to watch like that press briefing thing in full myself and see what it was all about. But yeah, anyway, I hope you've all had a good day, everybody, with all the new restrictions coming in. And, I hope everybody has a good year, despite the fact that it's going to be a pretty bleak beginning of the year from all the corona stuff going on. But, you know, I just hope all of us get through it, you know. I'm sure people our age will, but, you know, if you have elderly relatives or vulnerable relatives, I hope they're all right to everybody. I honestly do, because, you know, I know a lot of people that have lost loved ones during, you know, last sort of year, and it's not nice, is it? So hope everything goes well for everybody, you know, and I will see you all soon for another stream. I'll probably do the thing at the moment of alternating between members streams and non-members streams, because don't forget, you can join up for the channel membership thing. I do that instead of Patreon now, and it's much better. And I've got this to start watching. Well, I've seen it before, but the Blu-ray remaster of, you know, the really, really good one the BBC did, not the modern crap one. So, yeah, if you've not seen the original The Day of the Triffids, it's a really good fucking TV series. The old 1950s film's all right, but it doesn't follow the book very well. But, you know, it could always be worse. We could be living in this sort of environment, not the corona one, where we're not coming back from that sort of one. Anyway, see you all. And yeah, I'll be watching that soon to cheer myself up a bit, watching some good old 19 sort of 40s or 50s, whenever the book was written, sort of pre-zombie, but very similar to a zombie apocalypse style, you know, apocalyptic TV series. Oh, hi and bye, Peach, if you've just come on. And hello to you, Rajiv, as well, if you just came on, because I only saw you a while ago. Yeah, that's a bit Mr. History for him, in all honesty. But yeah, right, see you all. Hope you all stay safe anyway. Goodbye. Yeah, tier 5 for 90 days or so, if it doesn't extend on longer. And it will extend on longer.